Hey y'all, and welcome back to Deja's Crypto World. And today we're actually not going to be talking about crypto, we're going to be talking about stocks. And I just wanted to kind of diversify my portfolio, so I got into stocks and I love it here. I love it here, okay? But this video is really just essentially about the 5 stocks that I chose to invest into while the market was down. Now, when I did write all this information down, this was a good 2 weeks ago, so the stock prices are dramatically different from when they were 2 weeks ago. The stock market has risen, but these are still great stocks to get into, even when they're high. Just maybe wait for the price to go down a little bit. Okay, so the first stock that we're going to start with is my favorite, American Express, and the stock name is AXP. And right now it's around 266, but when I did buy it, it was at 231, which is about 2 weeks ago. So the reason why I gravitated towards AXP is because it is a card issuing bank and a payment processor, meaning cards like Visa and MasterCard, they don't issue any cards. They partner with other companies like Hilton and things like that to be able to issue co-branded cards. And the only way that they really make money / revenue is through swipe fees. So when you swipe your card, they get a portion of that purchase. So AXP generates way more income than Visa and MasterCard because it doesn't have to have a third party to go ahead and issue out their cards, which means it's more money in their pockets, which means it's more money in your pockets. Because if you think about it, when you're buying a stock, when you're buying into a stock, if that stock goes up, you go up. If that stock goes down, you go down. However much money they make, you get a portion of that as well. So you want to pick a stock that makes a lot of money and not stocks that are very limited on money. And the awesome thing about AXP is also that it's not just given to everyone. It has to be given to people who have a good credit score and who have the money to show that they can open an AXP bank account, American Express bank account. Which means that the quality of customers are going to be better and they're going to be wealthier, which makes you wealthier. And another awesome thing about AXP is that their stock prices rose by about 45% in the last 3 years versus another stock, S&P 500, which is very popular, that only went up by about 24% in the last 3 years. And also another thing to mention for this stock is Warren Buffett's influence on it. So if you know me, you know that I like to really dive deep into what billionaires and trillionaires are investing into, because they kind of lay down the footprint or the blueprint of what we should be investing to as well. And one cool thing about Warren Buffett is that he has not sold any shares of AXP since 2012. That says a lot right there. And then also on top of that, it's the second largest stock in his portfolio right after Apple. So Apple has the most percentage of shares, and then it's AXP from Warren Buffett's portfolio, which is called the Berkshire Hathaway, I think. That says a lot. Okay, y'all, so my second favorite stock is NVIDIA. So it's NVDA, and when I bought it, it was $96, and now it's about $109. So you see that it did get some traction. But I love this stock because it's an AI stock, and I really feel that AI is the future. So I feel like you should be investing in the future, so you should be investing in AI. NVIDIA has skyrocketed its revenue by 383% in the last 2 years. So it went from about 27 billion to 130.5 billion in 2 years. NVIDIA is also known as the backbone of artificial intelligence because it is the leader of graphic processing units. So graphic processing units have the ability to process information and data very quickly and also have high memory bandwidth. And Warren Buffett, he labeled it as undervalued, and when he labels something as undervalued, that means that you need to value it and you need to invest into it. So another cool thing to know about NVIDIA is that it helps the design and the makeup of computer chips and all chips that goes into our electric devices. So it doesn't necessarily make them, but it assures the quality of the chip, and it also offers like customer support and things if something were to go wrong. So it only makes sense to invest into something that is used in all of our electronic devices. It only makes sense because electronics are just going to keep going up, and they're going to keep diversifying, but they all need chips. So they all need NVIDIA, and that's why it's been up 333% in revenue in the past 2 years. What did I say? 27 billion to 130.5 billion? So my third favorite stock is going to be Amazon. I mean, come on, you know about Amazon. Amazon has literally acquired like Whole Foods, Twitch, iRobot, One Medical. You can buy a house on Amazon. You can buy a car on Amazon. You can get your groceries on Amazon. You can get your medications on Amazon. Amazon is a new way of life. They're literally trying to become a monopoly. And yes, this is horrible. This is actually horrible what Amazon is doing, because they're making it to where you can buy everything in one place, so you don't need like individual stores and outlets, you know, like that, because you can just get everything through Amazon and they can control what you buy and what you consume. Now, while this isn't great for politics and for our humanitarian rights, it is good for your pockets to invest into this Amazon stock. So when I invest into it, it was like 173, and right now I think it's at 187. It has been going down because of tariffs, because it was much higher than that last week, but that is something that you should definitely invest into. The fourth stock that I went ahead and got into is a SPY, so SPY, and it tracks the S&P 500, and S&P 500 is essentially just the top 500 stocks and on the US exchange that have the most revenue, that have the most investments, and S&P 500 is also used as a benchmark for trillions in investments. And the S&P 500 is about $5,000 to get into the stock, while the SPY, which tracks the S&P 500, is around $554 right now, but I did buy it when it was at $496. SPY moves in the same direction as the S&P 500. So if the S&P 500 is going up, you can expect SPY to go up. Vice versa, if S&P 500 is going down, you can expect that the SPY is also going to go down. Now, the SPY is an ETF, meaning that it's a basket of all the 500 stocks that are inside of the S&P 500, and essentially you don't own all of those stocks, but however well those stocks are doing is how well you'll be doing on your on your SPY ETF, if that makes sense. Some of the most common and most popular companies that are inside of the SPY ETF are Apple, Google, Tesla, Disney, and things like that. So those all generate a lot of revenue. And so that revenue is all calculated inside of the SPY ETF that you purchase. So if it goes up, you go up. If it goes down, you go down. And the cool thing about it is if one company is doing bad, it's not going to tank your whole ETF. That's not how it works because it's 500 of them. So unless like 80% of them are doing bad, I think you're okay on your investment. Now, the last stock that I went ahead and invested into is the QQQM, which tracks the Nasdaq 100. And the Nasdaq 100 is essentially a group of 100 companies that are most commonly traded companies, but it excludes financial institutions. So S&P 500, it has things like JP Morgan, American Express, things like that, like banking, but the Nasdaq 100 does not have those companies. So QQQM, which tracks the Nasdaq 100, is very, very big on technology. About 57.8% of their portfolio of companies is in the technology sector. It's also known as like the tech index because it really specializes in technology. So Meta, Google, like Yahoo, all those companies, you'll find that in the Nasdaq 100 / the QQQM. And I do want to mention that the QQQM is just like the SPY. So it's an ETF and it tracks all of the assets inside of the Nasdaq 100. So however well the Nasdaq 100 is doing, you can expect to see that same level of wellness inside of the QQQM. While this is my fifth stock of choice to invest into, it has outperformed the S&P 500 as far as like long-term revenue. But I did choose this to be my fifth stock that I invested into because I didn't know that much about it, but I've definitely heard about SPY. But I'm very new to QQQM, but I did a lot of research on it, and I do believe that this is something that you should definitely invest into. So I just gave you guys my top 5 stocks that I invested into. Remember, this is not financial advice. This is just me telling you what I invested into and just sharing that with you. Whatever you do with this information, it's on you. Now, stocks are just like crypto. It's a risky business. You can lose a lot of money and you can make a lot of money. And I wouldn't even say that stocks are safer than crypto because the stock can tank with bad news, just like crypto can tank as well. Except for stocks can't necessarily be rug pulled like crypto because there are some regulations in stocks, way more regulation than there is in crypto. But that's just something to keep in mind. But as I always say, with risk comes rewards. You only live once. Lose that money to make some money, babe. Now that does conclude my video for today, and I hope like this was an educational thing for you guys. I am getting into stocks, so if there are other stocks that you think I should be investing to, go ahead and let me know. But other than that, I just want to remind y'all that pretty girls can do stocks too.